We are working on Excel Project Review 1. We're on the Sales Data Worksheet tab. And so what you want to do is, before we begin, we want to make sure that we're on that worksheet. And our first task wants us to go ahead and use the Merge and Center to merge and center just a few ranges here, beginning with A1 to F1. So we'll go ahead and click and select that range. We're on the Home tab. We're in the Alignment group, and we can actually just click this button here, Merge and Center. And it wants us to do it for A2 to F2, A3 to F3, and A4 to F4. We'll go ahead and mark that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and apply a few styles to different ranges. Starting with A1, we'll go ahead and select that cell, and it wants us to apply the title. So we're on the Home tab, we're in the Styles group, we're going to go ahead and click this More drop down here, and we're going to go ahead and select Title. It says that for A2 to A4, we're going to go ahead and apply the explanatory style. So I've gone ahead and selected those cells. We're back here in the Styles group, and we're looking for explanatory. So we'll select that. Now it tells us to select A5 to F5. And with that range selected, we're going to go ahead and select Heading 2 in the Styles group. And for A16 to F16, we'll go ahead and select that range. We're going to go ahead and apply the totals style. So we're back here in the drop down here. We're going to select total. We'll go ahead and mark that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and change the column width of A to 20. What I normally do is put my cursor in between these two cells and then right click. We'll go ahead and click column width. We'll change this to 20. And then it wants us to select B through F columns. And this time we're going to change it to 10. So we'll right click here in between. We'll go to column width and we'll type in 10. We'll click OK. We'll go ahead and check that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and sort our range here. What we're looking at is A6 to F15. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select the row 5 in the selection because that's our headers. It'll make it easier when we go to sort it. So we are going on the Home tab. We're going to the Editing group, Sort and Filter. We'll go ahead and select Custom Sort. Now remember, we had our header row selected and we have this checkbox selected. The benefit of having that row selected is now our columns have the headings here. It's going to make it easier to select sales rep. Now you could do it without it, but it just makes your life just that much easier. And we have it A to Z. We'll go ahead and click OK. And we'll go ahead and mark that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and apply some conditional formatting to the range F6 to F15. So we'll go ahead and select that range. It tells us that it's going to be the icon set style. It's the 3 arrows. So we're on the Home tab. We're in the Styles group. We want to go ahead and click the conditional formatting drop down. We're going to go ahead and select New Rule. In this section, we're going to go ahead and click Icon Sets. And then we're going to change our icon style to the 3 arrows. So it's this one right here. It's the colored ones. And then it tells us that we want to display a green arrow for any value that's greater than or equal to 30,000. So the first thing we want to do, because both of our values are not going to be percentages, they're going to be numbers. And it's already set here for greater than or equal to, and what we'll type in is 30,000. For the second section, what we want to do is 20,000 according to our step. And we'll go ahead and click OK. We'll go ahead and mark that we completed this task. This task wants us to go ahead and insert the sum function for B16. So we'll go ahead and put our cursor here. It tells us that the range what we want to add up is B6 to B15. Now this is a simple formula. You could just do equal sum and type it out, but I would encourage you to either use this auto sum here or use the insert function. It's up to you. I have seen on GMetrix where using this gives you the subtotal function set instead of typing in sum, and GMetrix has marked you wrong. They could have fixed that, but just be mindful of that. I'm going to go ahead and do insert function. We'll do sum. We'll select that function. And what we want to do here is just select that range, B6 to B15. We'll go ahead and click OK. And then we'll go ahead and mark that that task is completed. This task wants us to go ahead and use the function that we just created in B16. And it wants us to copy it over through F16. Now here in this step, it's mentioning relative reference. That's how we selected our range here. Notice it's just B6 to B15. That is a relative reference. Most of the function that you key in will probably be that. An absolute reference has $signs in it. So we're going to go ahead and, with this cursor selected, you could do Control C and paste it, Control V throughout, or you can, with this cell selected, we have the black cross here, and what we can do is just click and drag all the way to F16. And because it's a relative reference, notice that as I click through the columns, it changes C, D, and E, F. If it wasn't a relative reference, the reference would have stayed the same here. It would have always been B for each column. We'll go ahead and mark that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and define a named range for B16 to E16. It tells us to exclude F16. And there are a few ways to do this, but in my opinion, the easiest way is to go ahead and select your range. And in the name box, go ahead and type in quarter totals. Make sure you capitalize both the Q and the T. And when you're done, you want to just go ahead and hit the enter key to set that range. We'll go ahead and mark that that task was completed. This task wants us to just simply key in some text. So it tells us in A18 to go ahead and type in largest sale. And we'll go ahead and hit enter to set our text. And we'll go ahead and check that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and insert the max function to go ahead and report the largest value in the range of F6 to F15. The max function will go ahead and display the largest number in a range. So what we want to do is put our cursor here in B18. We'll go to the insert function here at the top. We'll type in max. We'll go ahead and click OK. And then for our number 1 range, we're just going to go ahead and select this range, F6 to F15. We'll go ahead and click OK. And it brought back the largest number there. We'll go ahead and check that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and select F16 to F15. And it wants us to create a clustered column chart. So with that range selected, we're going to go to the Insert tab here at the top. You can check Recommended Charts if you're not sure which one in this section, All Charts. And from here, the first one is Clustered Column. If you're not sure, make sure you hover, and we'll click OK. And it tells us to go ahead and position that chart below our data. We'll click off that, and we'll go ahead and check that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and apply some formatting to this chart. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and select our chart again. Because we have that selected, we have the Chart Tools, Design, and Format tab here at the top. The one we want to select is Design. It wants us to change the style to 7. Our styles are here in the Chart Styles group. We want to hover until we find Style 7, and we'll go ahead and select that. It tells us that we want to add the title Sales by Rep. And so to do that, we can just go ahead and double click here in the title. It tells us to go ahead and add the horizontal axis labels from A6 to A15. And so we'll click off our title here. And what we want to do is, still we have the chart selected, so we have the Chart Tools Design tab. We want to be in the data group, and we're going to select Data. And from here, the horizontal axis labels is what we're editing. We'll go ahead and select Edit here. And I want you to pay attention down here, because when I select these names, notice that the numbers change to names. We'll go ahead and click OK, and we'll click OK here. The next format it wants us to do is to add data labels. So with the chart selected, we can go ahead and click this Chart Elements button. We want to go ahead and do data labels. We'll click the arrow because it tells us that it wants it on the outside end. And then it tells us to go ahead and add the alternate title, Sales by Rep. And so if you have this chart selected, we can right click here, and then we can click here, Edit All Text. 365 has kind of changed this screen. In the past, it had a title. In this section, you had the ability to add a description. We're just going to go ahead and put the Sales by Rep, but note that on the test, you'll have that ability. When you're done typing, go ahead and close out of that. And we'll go ahead and mark that we completed that task. This task wants us to go ahead and insert the FT logo into this document. So what we'll do is we'll click off of our chart just so we don't have that selected. We'll go to the Insert tab here at the top. We're in the Illustrations group. We can go ahead and select Pictures. You'll want to map to your GMetrix Templates folder. From here, we'll go ahead and select FT logo, and we'll go ahead and insert that. And then we'll go ahead and drag that to the top left corner of this worksheet. And we'll go ahead and mark that we completed this task. This task wants us to go ahead and crop the image that we just inserted. We're going to change the width to 1.1, and then we're going to apply a picture effect. So we'll go ahead and select this image. Because we have it selected, we have the Picture Tools Format tab here at the top. We're in the Size group. We want to go ahead and click the Crop button here, and it tells us to go ahead and crop it just so that the logo remains. Go ahead and hit crop here. We'll change the width to 1.1. It tells us to go ahead and apply the picture effect full reflection 4-point offset. We're in the picture styles. We're going to click picture effects drop down. We're in the reflection group and we're looking for the 4-point offset. Here's our full reflection 4-point offset. If you're not sure, make sure you hover before you select the style that you're applying, and we'll go ahead and mark that that task is completed. This task wants us to go ahead and change the page orientation and then change the page size to legal. We want to go to the page layout tab here at the top. In the page setup group, we'll go ahead and select orientation. We'll change it to landscape. And then what we want to do is for the size here, it tells us to select legal. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll mark that we completed this task. This task wants us to go ahead and insert a page break. We'll put that page break on row 19. So we'll go ahead and we'll just select the number 19 in the rows section. And then we're on the page layout tab. We're in the page setup group. We want to select this breaks drop down, and then we're going to select insert page break. And we'll go ahead and mark that that task is completed.